Okay, so I'm assuming I'm recording. I click the record button. And let's begin. So welcome to the fall semester, such that it is. I want to give me a second. I had a fan on, it was making too much noise. So again, welcome to the fall semester, Counting 101. B plus, B as in boy, plus is your section. And we're what's called a hybrid class, so we only meet once a week, and the rest of the time you're on your own. You know, just in case you're not aware of it, we have 3 teaching modalities this semester. We have remote, which would meet just like a normal class twice a week. We have hybrid, which meets once a week. And we have online, which doesn't really have any class meetings. So we meet once a week, every Wednesday, 8 o'clock till around 9:30. And we'll meet every Wednesday except one, November 11th. November 11th is a college holiday, so we do not have class on November 11th. And I think we end December 16th. Don't quote me, but it's sometime that week. December 16th, I believe, is a Wednesday. So we're starting earlier than usual, which means we'll end a little earlier than usual, which is always good. And assuming that we finish on time and we get everything done on time, what I've done in the past is I give you off that last day. But I can't guarantee that now because we have to see how far we get. But if I can, I like to give that to you as a day off so you can, you know, do other things you enjoy doing rather than this. Okay, I got 2 more people. Okay, so it looks like we have full class, which is great. And again, I apologize for this. I don't really like to waste time, but in the beginning, you know, we have to do these things. So what I'm going to do today is I want to take you through, you know, the various things you have to do on the computer, take you through the screens. I record every class, and I put it on Blackboard. You'll see when we get to it. If there's anything that I can't cover, because, you know, we only meet once a week and sometimes we would run over, I will make a separate video on that and put that also in Blackboard. So I think that's a good thing for you. You get to see everything. Okay. So anyway, this is where you start. You go to ncc.edu and you'll get this screen. And then you see this My NCC, this link. And when you click on that, it'll take you to a place where you have to enter your username and password. So I'm assuming you all know how to do that. You've already set that up. You should also set up a college email account, and when you correspond with me, you should do it from the college email account, right? I'm really not permitted to answer you or correspond with you using personal email. So please get in the habit of using the college email. When I communicate with you, that's what I'll be using. So you enter your username and password, and you'll be taken to this page. This is what's called the portal. And you'll see this thing down here called Launchpad. These are all different links that you use for different reasons. Now, mine probably doesn't look exactly the same as yours because I have access to some things you don't, and you have access to some things that I don't. But what we're looking for here is this link here that's called NCC Online. It's very small. You can't really see it, but this little box here, this icon, it says Blackboard on it, right? But it's tiny, so you really don't see it. But NCC Online, if you click on that, you'll go to Blackboard. Now on Blackboard, you'll see here in the middle where it says My Courses. Every course you're taking, we're all required to use Blackboard. So every course that you're taking should be listed here where it says Fall 2020. All your courses should be listed here. And you can see for me, I have 2 courses. I have your course and I have a 102 course this semester. And that's, let me mention this now. If you send me an email or if you have a question for me or if you want to get some information from me, you have to tell me your name and what class you're in. Right? Now, again, pretend that I don't know anything. You've got to tell me your name and what class you're in, because otherwise I don't really know what you're asking me, right? Because I have the 2 classes. And try to be specific. If you have a question about chapter 3, tell me. Chapter 3, problem 2, whatever it is your question is, try to be as specific as you can, because then I can look up what you want me to find out and help you with it. Other than that, if I don't know, I'm going to have to write back to you and ask you, and it just slows things down. So try to get into the habit of doing that. Pretend I'm a dope and I don't know anything, and just remind me your name and your class. Right? Well, since I only have a 101 and a 102, you could just say Accounting 101 class, and I'll know what that means. What else is important on here? There's something here. You see it up at the top, Introduction to Blackboard for Students. It's a little online course you can take that kind of walks you through Blackboard. So it's not a bad idea to do it, and you get something. You see this here? It says, earn a digital badge. A digital badge is like a certificate that you completed a course. And it's something that you could put on your resume. Because I know I take courses outside of here and I get digital badges and I list them on my resume. So it's just one more thing you can use to distinguish yourself when you apply for a job. So I urge you to do that when you have time. I can't imagine it's more than 10 or 15 minutes. Also, you see here, and you may want to write this number down, SUNY Online. If you're having a Blackboard problem, I really can't help you with that. Right? I can help you with accounting problems, but I can't help you with computer problems. So if you're having a Blackboard problem, you have to get in touch with this SUNY Online. And you see the phone number here. I'll read it out to you just in case you can't see it. It's 1-844-673-6786. And they're open just about every day from 7 a.m. to midnight. And then on weekends from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So write that number down, put it someplace where you won't forget. And if you have a Blackboard problem, let's say you're going to sign on to Blackboard and it's dead, you can't get it up, you can't find what you're looking for, call that number. There is an email address, but I would just call the number. Okay. Anything else? Oh, they recommend that you use Firefox or Chrome as your browser. Right? And not Safari. I know a lot of Mac people just use Safari for everything, but they prefer that you use Firefox or Chrome. You can download those, they're free. Anything else here? There's another thing down here, a student orientation for NCC. Maybe you saw it already, I don't know. But again, it's something that might only take 5 or 10 minutes. might be worth a look, especially in the beginning. All right, what else can I tell you here? I think that's about it for this page. So now we want to get into the class. So you click on the link for our class, 101B+, and it'll take you to this screen. Now notice it says read this first, right? For obvious reasons. So look at what's here. We have a course outline, a syllabus, and then we have 2 links on the textbook. The college is doing something different with textbooks this year, starting this year. I don't really know all the details of it, but there's information here that should guide you through. In short, you don't have to buy textbooks anymore. It's included in your tuition. And I'm not sure exactly when. Maybe some of you can already tell me. Did the books appear in your account already? Anybody?
No.
No, okay.
I'm going to pick them up today. Not yet.
Okay. Now this will be the ebook. You know, the electronic version of the book, the digital version of the book. If you want a physical book, you have to buy that separately. And you can buy that directly from McGraw-Hill. I'll get to all of that in a little while. Right? But now, what we want to do is we want to click on this link that says course outline. Now, this is a document that is created by the Accounting and Business Administration Department. And it's really just a general summary of what the course is about. And here it tells you the name of the book. Now notice it says Accounting 1 and 2. These are really 2 books combined into one. One book is, the author's name is Spiceland, and the other book, the author's name is White Cotton. But when you get the book, you get both. You don't have to buy 2 separate books. So you're taking Accounting 101 now, Accounting 1. Next semester, you take Accounting 102. You don't have to buy another book. You already have it. In addition to getting the book, it comes with something called Connect. And Connect is a computer program that allows you to do all your work, right? So we're going to do homework. We're going to take exams. We're going to do all of that using Connect. And you're going to access Connect through Blackboard. There's a disabilities statement here. If that's something that applies to you, please email me separately. They usually give you some kind of paperwork with that. If it doesn't apply to you, just forget it. Okay, now again, I'm required to take attendance. I'll get into that in more detail a little later on. Evaluation, I'll give you details on that. Basically, 70% of your grade is based on exams, 30% is based on homework. And then I give you the opportunity for extra credit. We have a learning center. You know, in normal days, it was in room A309. But if you need help, I have something later I can show you what to do. You can ask for the help. You can send an email to somebody and they'll get back to you with help. Withdrawing from class, contact me before you withdraw, if you decide you want to withdraw. Okay, so in this class, we cover 8 chapters, right? Chapters 1 through 8 in the textbook. We have 4 exams. Each exam covers 2 chapters, right? So we start out with chapter 1, move over to chapter 2, and then we have an exam. Chapter 3, chapter 4, we have another exam, right? And so on. We list the topics here that we're supposed to cover. I pretty much stick to what's on this outline, but pay attention to what I do in class. Pay attention to what I say in the recordings, because that's really what you're responsible for. Sometimes I just skip over something, or right? So that takes you through the whole semester, 4 exams, every 2 chapters. Syllabus. Now the syllabus is my document, right? I prepare this. And basically here, there's a telephone number there. That's the college telephone number. I mean, they tell me to put it there, but how am I gonna, I'm not there. So I can't answer the phone and I can't get messages off it. So the best way to get in touch with me is with email, right? And there's the email. It's my name at ncc.edu. There's a period in the middle. Right? Attendance is mandatory. If you're absent too much, it'll hurt your grade. If you're late too much, it'll hurt your grade. I don't give makeups, and you're not supposed to have your cell phone out, which is ridiculous because how am I supposed to know that? But yet, I work for people that don't have much vision sometimes. Okay, grading, I told you before, exams 70%, homework 30%. 4 exams, homework each chapter, each exam worth 17.5% of the grade, each homework worth 3.7% of the grade. And these due dates here are tentative. The actual due dates are on Blackboard. And here I just make a note that if there's a discrepancy in dates, do what it says on Blackboard. In addition, I will give you some assignments which you can complete for extra credit. Up to 10 points of extra credit. Right now, getting you books. There's 2 links for it. I would start with this one. It's a short video. That explains. Let me see how long it is. I think it's only like 2 minutes. Maybe we'll just watch it now.
Hey everyone, my name is Ari and I'm a student ambassador with McGraw-Hill. I'm here to tell you a little more about Connect, which may be required for this course and part of your grade. I'll show you how to get registered, but first let's take a closer look at Connect and what you'll get when you register. After you register for Connect, you'll get access to a bunch of amazing learning tools that you can't find anywhere else. You'll get a digital version of the course textbook, but unlike a typical ebook, this one is adaptive, and it will personalize each learning session to your needs, helping you study more efficiently. You'll also get a digital course planner and calendar to help you stay organized, and reports that will help you track your grades and performance so you'll always know how you're doing and what you'll need to study before that big exam. Time to get registered. Your course participates in an inclusive access program, meaning you'll have access to your materials on the first day of class without being prompted for payment during registration. I'll walk you through the process. It's super quick and easy. By the way, it's great that you're registering now. Students who have access to their course materials on the first day of class actually perform better than those who don't. So let's get started. Log into your Blackboard account and navigate to your course. If you are not sure if you have a Blackboard account, check with your instructor. In your course, navigate to the content area and find a Connect assignment link. If you're not sure where to find the link, just ask your instructor. Now that I've located a Connect assignment, I'm going to click on a Connect assignment link to start the registration process. On this screen, you will enter in your email address, then click Begin. I recommend using your school email address so that all of your courses are in one Connect account. If you receive the message, you have a Connect account, but have forgotten your password, click Forgot Password. Otherwise, it will take you to the account information page where you can create a new account. Enter in your first name and your last name, password, and set up a security question in case you need to reset your password. If you would like to receive text alerts, you can enter your mobile number as well. Agree to the terms and conditions, and then click Continue. You're almost done. Review the information on the screen. If it is correct, click Confirm. Thanks for registering. Should you need any additional help now or in the future, McGraw-Hill has an awesome customer service team available weekdays and on the weekend at the times listed on your screen. After you've registered, make sure you download the McGraw-Hill Read Anywhere app from the App Store or Google Play. The Read Anywhere app lets you read your course ebook offline and data-free, helping you study anytime, anywhere. Check it out. Thanks for listening today, and good luck this term.
Okay, so did you get the gist of what she was saying? Click on any assignment. So like, for example, go to this link that says homework. And when you click on the first homework assignment, it'll give you the screens that she said that you'd have to fill in your own information, right? And again, try to use your school email address as much as you can. It just makes it easier. In fact, what some students do, and it causes so many headaches for them, for one course, they'll use the school email address, and for another course, they'll use a personal email address, and it just is a nightmare. So, try to be consistent. Use your school email address for everything that's related to school. It'll just make everything easier for you. Again, read this first. There are some links here that explain the book program from the colleges and the bookstores' point of view, right? That video we saw, that was from McGraw-Hill's point of view, and they should be the same. But, if you want to take the time to watch this, if you don't do anything, the book will just be there. One other thing related to this, she flashed that phone number up there. I don't know if you want to write this phone number down. This is very important. I can almost guarantee everyone at some point you'll probably call this number, 800-331-5094. That's McGraw-Hill Connect. And if you're having problems with homework, accessing it, bad links, things that don't work, call them, right? Don't call me and tell me I can't get in because I can't do anything to help you. Call them. They'll give you a case number. And then if it's something that I have to fix, McGraw-Hill will contact me and I will fix it. But as far as I know, everything that I've done setting this up works. I've done the same thing over and over again, but you just never know. When you're working with computers, sometimes they have a mind of their own.
Can you repeat the number again?
Now you see this next link underneath here called announcements.
Excuse me, Professor.
When I want to contact you, I will post something here. And you will also get an email, like you've gotten emails from me like every day for the last week, reminding you that we had this class today, right? I hope I didn't annoy you by doing that. But I just know from my years of teaching here, which is over 30 years, a lot of people just say, I don't know. I didn't know, right? So I just go on that assumption that nobody knows anything, including me. And, I'd rather err on the side of caution than you miss something. But then again, it's not the end of the world. If you had to miss, if you had something else to do or you're sick or whatever, all of this stuff is being recorded. You will be able to watch the video another time. And even if you're in the class, you may want to watch the video again. Okay, so now let's skip down to this section here called coursework. And this is where you're going to spend most of your time. Now notice you see a link here for PowerPoints. These are the PowerPoints that come with the textbook, right? And if we were in a classroom, I would probably use these. But in this setting, I'm not really going to. In this setting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the textbook and just walk through the pages that contain the information that's important for you to know. These PowerPoints kind of summarize that. There are what are called concept overview videos. These videos are made by the publisher, and they deal with a lot of topics in the book. So if I tell you something and you don't understand, right? Maybe it's me, not you. Look at the videos. They're very short. They go topic by topic. They might be only 5 minutes on a topic. And I'll tell you something. A while ago, I had to teach a class that I hadn't taught in many years. And I found myself looking at these videos. And I can tell you, they're very good. So it's a good resource. If you take the time, they're very good. All right, now notice what else we've got here. We've got exams and homework. Let's look at exams. So for exams, I told you, right? Look at the dates. September 29th, October 27th, November 25th, December 16th, right? Write those dates down. Put them in your phone. Put them on a calendar. Don't forget. And when it comes to exams, let me click on this one. You have a window to take it. So between September 24th and September 29th is when you can take the exam. For each exam, you get the same amount of time that you would have gotten if you were taking the exam in class. So each class we have is 100 minutes long. The exam is 100 minutes. Now, I do something that a lot of people don't do because I believe that we're all human beings and we all make mistakes. I give you 3 attempts. I don't think anybody else does that. So if you make a mistake, you'll have the chance to go back and correct it 3 times. Maybe I'm too easy. Think I'm too easy? Should I change that? You want me to change that to 1?
Nah, it's you could leave.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
like
didn't
that.
think so. Okay. Remember, I'm not here to make your life miserable. I'm not here to ruin your life. I want you to learn something from doing this. And hopefully you will. Oh. Go back to this. Threw myself out of it. Right? So let's go back to this coursework, homework. Okay, chapter 1 homework. Due September 11th. You see it? Due September 25th. Due October 16th. Somebody started it already. I don't know how that's possible, but I guess it is. Homework, you get unlimited time. No time limit. 3 attempts. All right, anything else here important? I think that's it. All right, now, once you start working with this, you'll see there are some nice little features. For example, if you're doing the homework and you get stuck, you can access the textbook and it'll take you right to that part of the textbook that explains what that question is about. You get something here called Check My Work. After you do your work, you click on the Check My Work button and it'll show you exactly what you got wrong. There'll be green checks for what you get right, and there'll be red crosses, I think, red X's for what you got wrong. You get to do that 3 times. So not only do you get 3 attempts, you get 3 check my works. All right, so I think that's more than enough to get you through what you need. Again, my goal is not to ruin your life, it's to make it better. Okay, extra credit. The extra credit corresponds with the exams. So for example, the first exam was chapters 1 and 2. You see that you have a question that comes from chapter 1 for extra credit. These you only get one attempt for. I don't pick these questions, they're picked by somebody else. And I don't make it part of your grade because if somebody else picked the question, I'm not comfortable with it. So that's why I give extra credit only for these things. What's going to happen at the end of the semester is I'm going to take the grades from each question. I'm going to average them. And then I multiply that average times 10 points. And I add that to your grade. So let's say, for example, you wind up with an 80 average on these 4 questions. I take 80% and multiply it by 10. That's 8 extra points that gets added to your grade. That's the difference between a B and an A, or a D and a C. And remember, you need C's in your accounting classes to continue. So you need at least a C in accounting 1 before you can take accounting 2. I don't know if your other classes are like that. The only other link I want to show you here is my videos. Now, there's nothing in there yet, right? But I will add things in there as we go along. I'll put videos in there, and I will also put the solutions to the homework problems. See, let me explain that a minute. There are homework problems that are in the book, and those are the problems that I'll go over. When you go to do it, you're going to do the same problem, but everybody has different numbers, right, to cut down on copying and that kind of thing. So when I go over a problem with you, it'll be right from the book using the numbers that are in the book. But when you do it yourself, you'll have the same problem, but with different numbers. Now, when I do the problem with you, I will do it using, I don't know, usually I use Excel or something like that. And then I'll make a copy of it, and I'll also post it here with the video. So if you have to go back and actually see the problem, you'll see it there. And, you know, in my opinion, and I've always felt this way, is that doing an accounting problem is more of an art than a science. There's a lot to go into some of these problems. Now, a lot of them are just straightforward, rote, do exactly what the book does. But there are times when you want to make calculations, or I want to make a specific point with you, that it's helpful to see how the problem is, not just look at an answer. So you'll have both. You'll have the video to look at to see how I did it, and then you'll have a copy of what the answer should look like. Anything else here that's important to you? You have a My Grades thing here, so you can track how you're doing as you go along. And then there's a link for withdrawal, but don't worry about that right now. That was left over from the spring. I'm sure that's going to be updated. I don't know if you can even see it. I think I have that X'd out so you can't see it. All right, and that's it. That's about it. So what I'd like to do now, right, because we have time, what I'd like to do now is to look in the book. Now, this is the way I do it. I don't know, again, how you access things might be different than I do. But once you get into this, this is what you'll see. Blank. Oh, well. Maybe that's not working today. But if you click on that button that said home, you'll see this. Now, you don't have to do this, but this is just the same information that's on Blackboard. See, you got your exams, got your homework. Same information, it's just a different way to access it. Now, if I click on library, and again, I don't know if what you see is different than what I see. I'm thinking it might be. But here's how I access the textbook. So if you look up here on the top, you have a table of contents, right? And here's chapter 1, and it goes topic by topic through chapter 1. And then you'll see you have a glossary of terms at the end of every chapter. And again, in the beginning, with accounting, we learn a lot of terminology that you might not be familiar with, right? So sometimes it's helpful to at least know where the glossary is if you have to look something up. And then comes the end of chapter material. And most of what I do comes from problem set A, but occasionally I might assign something from the exercises or brief exercises, right? But that really doesn't matter. I mean, you're just gonna access it through Blackboard. But now if we look at chapter 1, right? What's the definition of accounting? See, what I want to do here is I want to give you some background. I want to define accounting, and I want to talk about who uses accounting and what form the information takes, right? That's the 3 big things here that I want to go over with you. So we talk about accounting being the language of business. Now, it's a language that companies use to tell their financial story. In other words, it's not like English or Spanish or French or Mandarin. It's not like that. It's numbers. And it's the numbers arranged in a certain form so that it makes sense, so that you, who's reading that information, can make decisions. This information is prepared for a reason. It's prepared for someone to make a decision about a company. Should I invest my money with that company? Should I lend my money to that company? Should I take a job with that company? Should I do business with that company? Right? These are all the kind of decisions that you can make from looking at this information. So we say that accounting is the language of business. Who uses that information? Who are the different people that make decisions? Right? So you got the people over here, and you got the companies over here. Investors and creditors, those are the main 2. Those are the main 2. So when we talk about this, when we talk about financial information, we're talking about it from the point of view of the investor and the creditor for the most part. Yes, there are other people here. It is important that these other people know how to use the information. But for us, the most sense it makes is to look at it from the investors and creditors' point of view. So here you got your investors and creditors, and they want to make a decision about the company. And look who's in the middle, the accountant, right? So the company gives information to the accountant does something with it, summarizes it, puts it in a form that's understandable, and then they communicate it to these people. So the accountant is almost like a middleman in this process. Now we're going to see in our course is we learn what's called financial accounting, right? Financial accounting. And there are 2 main things here you should know about financial accounting. It talks about business activity being measured and business activity being communicated. Measured means what? Expressed in numerical terms, and communicated being, I've got to put that on a piece of paper somehow and give it to somebody in a form that they'll understand. Not all that important, to be honest with you.
Sir, I have a question.
Sure.
How many types of accounting are there?
Well, basically two types, financial and managerial.
Okay.
Financial takes into consideration people that are outside the company, the investors and the creditors. Managerial looks from the insider's point of view, the people that work for the company. Now, sometimes there's overlap, sometimes the information is more or less the same, but for managerial accounting, we don't have to follow a lot of the same rules that we have to for financial accounting.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this is really more for background than anything else. Financial accounting standards. We have rules to follow, right? Just like anything that you do, there are rules to follow, right? So accounting has its own set of rules. They're called generally accepted accounting principles. Generally accepted accounting principles, we summarize it and call it GAAP. And the organization that's responsible for making those rules is called the Financial Accounting Standards Board. Okay. Auditors. Now, when you hear the word audit, I know when I first hear the word audit, I immediately think of the IRS, right? The IRS wants to audit your tax return. Well, what does that really mean? What does an auditor do? An auditor just checks the information to make sure that it's right. So in other words, when the IRS audits your tax return, they just want you to prove what you put on the tax return. That's all. And if you didn't do anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about, right? What people get into trouble is they put things on their tax return that really didn't happen or that really aren't true, and then they can't prove it. Now, in accounting, auditors work outside the company. They do not work for the company. They're independent. And what they do is they just verify that the information that is contained in the financial records is correct. Or I shouldn't say correct, let's say accurate. So that's what an auditor do, an auditor check something to make sure it's accurate. And then what the auditor does is that they issue something called an opinion. And here's an example of an auditor's opinion. And what it basically says is that we have looked at the company's financial records for these two time periods, right, 2016 and 2017, and that the financial statements are the responsibility of the company, not the auditor, that the auditor's responsibility is to express an opinion. And here what they say is that in our opinion, the financial information presents fairly in all material respects. And then they go into a discussion of ethics here. Can I say, not really concerned that much with that stuff. Let's see. Yes, this is important. Business activities. Now, just for some background here, what the book does is they give you a company called Eagle Soccer Academy. It's a school to learn how to play soccer, right? I think we could all understand that. It's not a complicated business. And they're going to take this example, start in chapter 1, and then they're going to continue it chapter 2, 3, 4, etc. So what they're saying here is business activities, everything a business does can be put into one of three categories, right? You see them here. Financing activities, investing activities, operating activities. So everything a business does falls into one of these three categories. Okay, now what is a financing activity? When a business first starts, what's the most important thing that it needs? What do you think?
Money.
You're going to start a business
Funds.
today. What would be the first thing you would want to have?
Money.
Starts with a C.
Currency.
Cash, right? No cash, no business, right? Otherwise, it's just an idea. So when you start a business, you need cash. Where do you get the cash? Well, you can either borrow the money or you can look for investors. Now, if you borrow money, let's say you go to the bank and borrow money, that's called a liability. So if you look down here, they give you the definition of what a liability is. So liabilities are amounts owed to creditors. A bank. Liabilities have to be paid back, right? When you borrow money from the bank, you eventually have to pay it back. And usually you have to pay what? Interest on top of it. So where does a company get money? They can borrow. Now, they could also go to investors. When you get money from investors, that's called stockholders' equity. Stockholders' equity. Now, the good thing about stockholders' equity is you don't have to pay that money back, right? That's investors' money. I mean, you shouldn't do anything wrong with it, but again, if the business were to go under, you don't have to pay that money back. The money you borrowed, you do. We're going to use a corporation as the way to operate the business, and corporations have stockholders. So when you go out and get investors, you're going to give the investors shares of stock, common stock, we call that, right? Common stock. Right? So you started your business, you went out and you got your cash, you borrowed some from the bank, you got some money from investors. Now what's next? You want to buy the things that you need to use to operate your business. Those are called investing activities. So you need to buy various things that you're going to need to use to operate the business. Those things are called assets. Right? Assets are the resources of a company. So assets would include things like cash, equipment, inventory, supplies, land, right? Anything that you need to operate your business, that's an asset. So investing activities, you're buying assets. Now, so far, you haven't seen a customer yet. Once you start seeing your customers, those are called operating activities. Operating activities has to do with paying your bills every month, with servicing your customers, selling things to your customers and getting paid, and so forth. Now, the work that you do for your customers, the term for that is revenue. So if I do something for a customer, that's called revenue. You see it here? Revenues are the amounts recognized when a company sells products or services to customers. Revenues doesn't necessarily mean cash. See, we all like to do work for customer and get paid on the spot. Right? That's what we like to do. But sometimes we extend credit to the customer and they don't pay us at the same time that we provided the service. So maybe the customer will pay us a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, right? That's still revenue. So revenue has nothing to do with cash. Revenue has to do with the value of the goods or services that you provided to the customer. What else goes into operating activities? The costs of doing business, right? So here it tells you associated costs of doing business, things like rent, salaries, utilities, advertising, those are called expenses. Expenses. So now expenses and revenue are related because we only have expenses to help us earn revenue. In other words, you just don't go out and blow money on things you don't need, right? The only costs that you want to have are costs that are going to help you earn revenue. Salaries, for example. You hire employees to do what? You hire employees to work with your customers to help you get revenue. You pay rent on a building or an office or a store. You pay rent so that the customers have a place to come to buy your stuff. You just don't pay rent for the sake of doing it, right? You have supplies because when you use those supplies, it is going to help you make more revenue. So some people have problems making that connection. Now, what happens when I take the expenses and subtract it from the revenue? I get something called net income. Now, some people would say profit, right? Profit means the same thing, but in accounting, we don't use the word profit. We use the term net income. So for example, if your revenue, another word for revenue I would say is sales, right? If your sales for the month were $10,000 and your expenses were $8,000, your profits would be what? 10 minus 8 is $2,000. That company had a net income of $2,000 for that time period. Now there's one more thing. Dividends. What is a dividend? Well, a dividend is when I make a payment to a stockholder. Right? Let's say I decide that I want to reward the stockholders. I'm very grateful to them that they gave me their money so that I can have this business. And I'm going to share some of the profit with them by paying them a dividend. I don't have to pay a dividend. It's something that I choose to do. And a lot of companies don't pay a dividend. For example, Amazon, huge company, billions of dollars in sales, millions of dollars of profit. They don't pay a dividend. They don't. They believe that if they keep everything internally, they can invest that money and earn more. So they don't like to pay out. A company like Apple does pay a dividend. Right? Again, they don't have to, but they do. Right? So important for you to know, dividends are not an expense. Dividends are not an expense. So we talked before about accounting being the language of business and that we want to communicate information to the users, right? The investors and the creditors for the most part. And how do we do that? We do it through something called financial statements. Financial statements are reports that the accountant prepares to give to the investors and creditors. Right? So what do those financial statements do? They measure and communicate. There are 4 different types of financial statements. One is called an income statement. One is called a statement of stockholders' equity. Number 3 is a balance sheet. Number 4 is a statement of cash flow. The most important thing we're going to do in this chapter is to learn how to prepare these financial statements. All the other stuff I mentioned to you is it's nice for background, it's good to know, but this is the meat of what we have to do in chapter 1. We have to learn how to prepare the first 3. The fourth one we're not going to bother with. When you take Accounting 102, there's an entire chapter devoted to statement of cash flow, and you'll learn how to do that there. But we're going to concentrate on these first 3. So what goes on the income statement? I told you before, revenues minus expenses equal net income. So what does an income statement look like? Name of the company, name of the statement, and the date. Now notice how the date is expressed for the month ended. So when you look at this, let's say you're an investor. You're not at the company every day. You don't know what's going on there every day. So they hand you this report and they say, yeah, for the month of December, this is what happened. I had revenue of $7,200. Now remember, this is a soccer academy. So what does that mean? It means I billed my customers $7,200 for my services, teaching them how to play soccer or whatever it's for. Then I had costs. I had rent, supplies, salaries, utilities, interest, and other that didn't fall into another category. Notice service revenue, rent expense, supplies expense, write the whole word out, right? Revenue minus expenses. So the revenue was $7,200 for the month. The expenses was $6,000 for the month. 7,200 minus 6,000 is 1,200. 1,200 represents the net income or the profit for that month. Now, this was the first month that they were in business. So the first month they're in business, they made a profit of $1,200. Again, I don't know whether that's good or bad, but that's just something that you should be able to get out of this, all right? And when you do your first homework problem, you're going to do an income statement, right? So if you need to go back and see what it looks like, if you forget, go here. Look at the concept videos. Statement of stockholders' equity. We want to show in this statement all the changes that took place in the various components of stockholders' equity. What is stockholders' equity made up of? It's made up of 2 things, common stock and retained earnings. All semester, this entire semester, every time we talk about stockholders' equity, we're going to be talking about common stock and retained earnings. What is common stock? It represents how much the investors gave us and we gave them stock. What's retained earnings? What does the word retain mean? It means keep, right? When I retain something, I'm keeping it. What am I keeping? Earnings. What does earnings mean? It means net income. How much net income does the company keep? Well, you might say, doesn't it keep all of it? Well, Amazon keeps all of it. But what about Apple? Apple pays out a dividend. So what's retained earnings? It's net income minus dividends. And notice that it's over the life of the company. So what does a statement of stockholders' equity look like? Right, notice we have a heading, statement of stockholders' equity, and we show the date the same way for the month ended December 31st. Beginning balance, increases, less decreases gives you ending balance. We have a column for common stock, a column for retained earnings, and a column for total. Notice on December 1st, 0. Why? Because it was a new company. It was just started. When a company starts, all the numbers are 0. What happened during this first month? Stockholders gave us $25,000 and we gave them common stock. What else happened this month? We had net income. The income statement showed us that we had $1,200 in net income. That $1,200 is an increase to retained earnings. What else happened? We paid out a dividend of $200. Notice it says less. Add means add and less means subtract, right? We paid out dividends of $200. So retained earnings, the balance now is $1,000, not $1,200, but $1,000 at the end of December. Common stock is $25,000, retained earnings is $1,000, the total is $26,000. So does everybody get it? Because this was a new business. We start out at zero. Next month, these ending balances will be the beginning balances, right? And we'll just keep adding to that during the life of the business.
I just have a question.
Sure.
I've kind of had this question for like a while, even before this class, but I was always thinking, like, when you invest like into a company, like, you know, anyone could withdraw that money at any time. Like, how is that, you know, how can a company really use that money if it's just like, I don't know, anyone could just take it out at any time?
Well, when you invest your money with the company, you're trusting them that they're going to do the right thing with it. That they're going to buy assets and they're going to take care of their customers and they're going to pay their bills on time. Is that what you're driving at?
I mean, kind of, but like, just because, like, you know, a stock could go like up and down, like, you know, very fast. And like, let's say, you know, a company spending a lot of that stock money. What happens if somebody, the stock goes down a lot? You know, is it just debt then?
Well, let me see if I can clear something up. When you buy shares of stock, let's say today you wanted to buy some Apple stock, and you call up your stockbroker and you buy Apple stock, you're not giving that money to Apple. Right? That money's not going to Apple. That money is going to somebody that wants to sell Apple stock. That's called the secondary market. So when you and I decide that we want to buy and sell stocks for ourselves, that's the secondary market. When a company starts, that's called the primary market. And that's when you're giving your money directly to the company. Mm-hmm. Now, when you do that, you've done your research, you've studied the company's plans, you've looked at their financial statements, and before you make that investment, you have to be satisfied that they're going to do the right thing with the money. Because if they don't, you lose. Right? Now, again, I'm not saying anybody did anything fraudulently or anything intentionally wrong, but if they mismanage and go out of business, you lost your investment.
All right.
So when you invest money with a company, and in this example here, the Eagle Soccer Academy, that money was going directly to them, right? This isn't Apple or Amazon or anything like that. This is a small group of people that decided to open this business. And when you gave your money to them, you thought it was a good idea to do that. Now, a lot of times in these examples, this is a very small company. This might be just one person who owns all the stock. And it's probably the person that's running the business. And that person is going to be very careful about what they do with money. So I don't know if does that answer your...
It gives a good conclusion to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I could say one thing, okay? And again, I say this with all best intentions. Try not to overthink things. Because I know that's something I have a problem with. When someone's talking to me about something, I'm already trying to think 3 steps ahead, right? This is very basic stuff, right? So just try to take it at face value and try to go on the assumption that everybody is honorable, everybody does what they're supposed to do, nobody's going to steal anything. All your customers are nice people. They're going to pay you, right? Operate under that premise. And as time goes on, we'll see what happens when negative things happen and how we deal with it, right? But for the most part, we want to pretend we're in a utopian state where everybody is nice and everybody does what they're supposed to. And it just makes it easier to try to understand the concepts. So this is what your statement of stockholders' equity looks like. This will be on your homework. Balance sheet. Now the balance sheet is a list of the resources of the business and where they came from. The resources of the business are the assets, and where they came from are the liabilities and the stockholders' equity. So when we do a balance sheet, we have a heading, name of the company balance sheet. Look at the date. We don't say for the month ended. We just say on December 31st, this is a list of what we had. We had the following assets. We had cash. We had accounts receivables. Anybody know what accounts receivable is? Anybody? Accounts receivable? You did something for a customer and they didn't pay you yet. You provided services to a customer and they didn't pay you yet. They're going to pay you later, right? And like I just got finished saying, don't worry about what happens if they don't pay. Just pretend everybody does what they're supposed to, right? When we get to chapter, I forget, I think it's 7, we'll see what happens when people don't pay. I had supplies. Supplies could be things like papers and pencils and paper clips and little doodads I have to use in my business on a day-to-day basis. Equipment. Now, what's the difference between supplies and equipment? Supplies have a very short life, and equipment has a longer life. So supplies might only last me a few weeks, but equipment is something that's going to last me a few years, right? And that's the primary difference. And when I see the word net, it's telling me that something was subtracted to get at that number. And then we have other. So if I add the assets up, it comes out to $40,000. Total assets, $40,000. So what are the resources of the business? They're the assets. What is the total of all the assets? $40,000. And these were the things that I'm going to use every day to help me make more money. These are the investing activities, right? That we talked about earlier. Now, how did I get those assets? Did I borrow to get them? Or did the stockholders give me some money to buy them? Well, both. And if you look down at the bottom here, you see the total assets is $40,000 and the total liabilities and stockholders' equity is also $40,000. That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. That's the way it's supposed to be. So what did I borrow? Notice liabilities have the word payable in their name. See it? Accounts payable, salaries payable, utilities payable. Whenever you see that word payable, that's telling you it's a liability. And what that means is this is something that you bought and didn't pay for yet. Just like your customers didn't pay you yet, you didn't pay yet, right? So accounts payable. Maybe I bought some supplies. Maybe I bought something that I didn't pay for yet, right? I owe $2,300. And I could owe that to more than one person, right? That could be one person. It could be 10. Salaries payable. I didn't pay my employees yet. I owe my employees $300. Maybe they worked a day or two and I'm not going to pay them till Friday. So as of today, whatever date this is, I owe them $300. Utilities payable. Well, I have an electric bill, a gas bill. Maybe I have other types of utilities like cable TV or whatever. I have to pay this. I'm not going to pay it today. I'm not going to pay it December 31st, but I might pay it next week. But as of today, I owe $900 to the utilities company. Interest payable. When you borrow money, you also usually owe interest on top of the money that you borrowed. So this represents how much interest I owe on that money as of this date, right? December 31st. Notes payable. This is the bank. This is money I borrowed from the bank. And the bank made me sign a piece of paper called a note. Notice these other liabilities are just on paper. There's nothing to back it up really, right? The notes payable, the bank wouldn't give me money until I signed something, right? $10,000. I owe the bank $10,000, and that $100 of interest is probably related to this $10,000. And then I had some other liabilities for which I couldn't put into one of the other categories. So I owe everybody a total of $14,000, right? And I borrowed this money to help me buy some of these things here. Okay. Now, what about stockholders' equity? Remember when we did the statement of stockholders' equity, right? We said that stockholders' equity at the end of December, common stock was $25,000, retained earnings was $1,000, stockholders' equity is $26,000. And that's exactly what it shows down here, right? Common stock 25, retained earnings 1, total 26, 14 plus 26 is 40. That's your balance sheet. So for homework, you're going to do a problem where you're going to have to do all three of the statements. Just one more thing about the balance sheet. For the balance sheet, we say assets equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. That's what's known as the accounting equation. And this is going to come up again and again and again. We're going to take it chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and we're going to use it over and over and over again, right? So just keep that in mind. Assets equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. Now, let's take a look. I want to take a look at the homework problem. Okay. You only have one problem for homework, but that problem is in 3 parts. I don't know if I can blow this up. It doesn't know. There we go. Okay. So you've got one problem, and you have to do 3 things. You have to do an income statement, a stockholders' equity statement, and a balance sheet, right? So up here, look what they give you. They give you all these numbers. They're kind of like in a random order, right? And then pay attention to things. Sometimes we just skip over things fast, right? Notice they tell you here, in addition, the company had common stock at 40,000 at the beginning of the year. They issued additional common stock, 4,000 during the year, right? And they had retained earnings at the beginning of the year of $18,200. Now, again, your numbers are going to be different than this. So what you have to do is you have to go through all of this and you have to say, okay, what belongs on an income statement? So when you're doing an income statement, what are you looking for? You're looking for revenue and you're looking for expenses. So what expenses do we have? Delivery expense, salaries expense, and look at this one. Cost of goods sold or food expense. So that's all that's going to go on the income statement, just those things. What's going to go on the statement of stockholders' equity? Well, we're going to have to say, do we have beginning balances in the accounts? Yes, right? 40,000 was common stock, 18,200 was retained earnings. Did we do anything to increase those? did we do anything to decrease those, right? And that's how you get your ending balances. And then the balance sheet is everything that's left over. The assets, the liabilities, and the stockholders' equity you'll know once you do part 2. Okay. So let me see, Longhorn Company. In the book, if you're doing the problem out of the book, like I'll do next week with you, I'm just looking. It's problem 1-3A, which is on page 46 of the book. So that's the problem I'll go over with you next time. And that's what this problem is here, right? So that's really all I had for today, unless there are any questions. Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. So I will, hopefully this thing recorded, I think it did. And I'll post the video later today so you can watch it again if you want to. And I'll see you next week, and we'll go over, I'll review a little bit, and we'll go over the homework, and then we'll finish with chapter 1. If we have time, we'll start chapter 2. So is everybody okay?
Yep.
All right, great.
Yep.
All right. So thank you very much. I'm glad you all showed up today, and we'll do it again next week.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good
Take
one.
care. Have a good one.
Have a good week.
You too.